In this module, we start to explore AS720.1. This document is the main reference material that we use as structural designers in Australia. It's set out in these major sections. Section 2 is to do with background information, in particular modification factors that take into account the service conditions in which individual timber elements are going to be used. Section 3 is about member design. Section 4 about connections. Then is Section 5, 6, 7 and 8 that focus on particular types of structural members: plywood, round timber, glued laminated timber and laminated veneer lumber. When we're making use of this standard, the main bits that we get into are Sections 2 and 3. So Section 2 we use for capacity factors. And timber has capacity factors that are a little more complex than some other structural materials. And Section 3 involves the determination of bending capacity, tension capacity and compression capacity. Each of those use the capacity factor and the K factors, the modification factors for the service conditions. So having found the bending capacity, the tension capacity and the compression capacity, we can also evaluate members that have both bending and tension. So combined bending and tension members or combined bending and compression members, where they're resisting two different types of action together. For example, if we're looking at designing a glued laminated bending member, we're going to start in Section 7. Section 7 tells us the basic design properties for glulam and some of the modification factors for glulam. It will then point us at Section 2 and Section 3 that will enable us to design each of those members. Finally, the design properties. The bending strength, the tension strength, the compression strength, these are the essential elements in determining the capacity of bending, tension and compression members. We find them in Appendix H of AS720.1 for sawn timber. So for sawn timber, MGP grades, they're in Table H3.1. For the F grades, they're in Table H2.1. For plywood, they're in Section 5, which is the plywood section. For glulam, they're in Section 7, which is the glulam section. And for LVL, Section 8 points us to the manufacturer because each individual manufacturer specifies their own design properties. Also bearing strength. So bearing strength of MGP, we go straight to Table H3.1 where we found the bending strength, shear strength, tension strength and compression strength. But for all of the others, we've got to relate it to the species. And we will go to Table H2.2 for the bearing strengths, having related it back to the species. So for a design example, looking at the bending capacity of a member, the first of the factors in that expression we find from Section 2. So the capacity factor and the modification factors. When we look at the bending relationships, we find we have to model the buckling capacity and the fracture capacity out of Section 3. So we're drawing K12 and Z from Section 3. The bending strength, F'(B), we obtain from the appropriate part of the standard for the member that we're designing. So if it's sawn material, we're going to Appendix H. If it's LVL, we're looking in Section 8. If it's glulam, in Section 7. So this is the way we make use of this standard in order to find the design capacities of different types of structural elements.